Assessment is performance-based. You either do it or you didn't do it. All students develop projects, solve problems and present their findings to community panels, to their peers, to parents. They're required to complete an academic internship, they're required to have a substantial senior project, and they must have a personal digital portfolio. And within that, they are the key elements for graduation by the end of your time. The teacher teams have ample planning time, they develop common rubrics, common rituals, and it is expected that you will actually discuss your projects as part of your teaching, your wider teaching team, but more on that afterwards. The unboxed picture on the side is from the Graduate School of Education, and they are all teacher articles done as postcards explaining a specific project. They also have children and young people's feedback on them, and they are published 3 times a year. Teacher teams project-based learning is probably the critical element. They work in interdisciplinary teams of 2 or 3 teachers. So, for example, for 70 Year 9s, and there are no split year levels, or 70 Year 6s, there would be 3 teachers assigned to that group. There would be 1 teacher who would teach math science, 1 teacher who would teach humanities, which is English, history, geography, and another X-blocks teacher. And what they mean by that is that you might, in Year 6, for example, that might be a year that you actually study art, whereas in Year 9, you may be studying engineering. So there is no choice. It's what you get is what you get. You then have those lessons every day of the year for 2 lessons, effectively, in our terms, 2 lessons a day. It is less is more, and you must go deeper with your study. My background in science would also lead me to tell you that in Year 9, everyone does physics, because as we know from the physics first work, if you don't do physics in your first year of science, you never do it after that. In Year 10, everyone does chemistry. In Year 11, everyone does biology. And Year 12, you can go back and specialise again. So some really interesting things the way they do it. So one teacher teaches math science to half the group, other teacher teaches humanities, they swap. The X-block teacher teaches both groups. Basically, this is your group of children. You are responsible for them. You have to produce. The schedule accommodates team teaching. It includes common planning time, project-based learning, work-based and other regular interaction. The teachers all have digital portfolios which they have to outline the projects, post the learning, and these are public, and you can even get onto them now through the HTH High site. You develop integrated projects. The picture above this slide is of a project between a humanities teacher and a biology teacher at Year 10 level, which was about Media Saves the Beach, which is about pollution in San Diego. Students, after they had gone through all the work, have to come up with their exhibition. This is not project-oriented learning, this is project-based learning. Everything that they do in 8-week blocks is about the project. The exhibition and the discussion of their process of learning are the assessment tools. As I said before, all the HTH High schools serve a diverse population. The thing that we found fascinating is that it's actually run on the smell of an oily rag in our terms. The specialist facilities are non-existent. There's no libraries, there's no gyms, there's no science labs, there's no tech, there's no home economics. At Point Loma, where there are 6 schools together, there's approximately a play space by a grassed area by 30 metres by 10 metres. There is 1 canteen which you don't have to go to. The only children who have a fenced-in area are the elementary school children, and in the middle of the area is a car park. But at no stage did it feel anything other than a vibrant, exciting learning pace. Tech studies, equipment which are engineering benches, etc., equipment was wheeled out if it was needed. The only school we saw that had what we would call engineering or tech studies equipment of any sort was at Chula Vista, and that was actually in corridors and then wheeled back in after the students had used it. There were concerns about the lack of a library and the lack of resource materials. One of the great things about the freedom of access that they gave us through the residency is they actually expect people to tell you what is their truth. And so people did give us some pretty well warts and all. But teachers are expected to have a master's degree either in-house or before they're employed. So the picture at the end is us with Rob Riordan, who's the older gentleman who was one of the co-founders of HTH High. and the other person standing there is Jeff Robin, who is also one of the founding teachers of High-Tech High, who talked with us particularly about integrated projects and is one of the key people that they have to lead their master's programs and their project-based learning programs. How can we turn from a school within a school to a village of schools with some autonomy to enable people to really go longer and deeper and not have our teachers scattered across? What is the mock way? Have we actually fully defined what are the basic premises of Mark Oliphant College? Can we, could we, do less is more, a restructure of the curriculum? We've already seen that with intense time, focused time in the primary and early years for literacy and numeracy, but then we thought we'd put in NIT, which was quite scattergun approach, even though we think we're meeting the curriculum guarantee. Is there a better way of doing it? Can we do it if we actually change people into years, into senior years, middle years teachers? Teacher teams. We've played around with that, but they were absolutely committed to teacher teams and what they would produce. Product, product, product. Exhibitions, publications, artefacts. Again, fills in with a line of Heppel. Why wouldn't our library be filled with books children produce? And this was probably apart from the artwork and the science work I saw on the walls, was actually buying the books, which was simply really well produced chapters of writing, which many of our children would already write in terms of essays or keynotes they would have previously put together, but put together in a proper book format with an introduction by the teachers and then ready for the library. Why there's such a big difference between project-based and project-oriented learning. Project-oriented learning is you come up with a project to end something up. Project-based learning is you're absolutely specific from the beginning about what it's going to be. It is an expectation at High-Tech High that the teachers will have done the projects beforehand, because if they find them boring or if they find you can't do it in 3 months, how's an adolescent or even a 10-year-old going to do it? And could we engage in the Leading School program with HTH, which is a way of schools from outside the San Diego area actually continuing to engage on the intellectual mission with them and actually doing some of their graduate school programs. I'd like to, at this stage, thank Gary Costello and Trevor Radloff and Tony Cocchiaro for supporting our application to go to High-Tech High and being able to come back with so much rich material that we think will very much have, as well as the visits of people like Stephen Heppel have, very much influenced the directions that Mark Oliphant College is taking. Thank you very much.